Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Patricia Capella, Conference Manager for Clarion Events Food and Beverage Trade Shows, which produces several industry events and conferences. During these uncertain times, we are doing everything we can to help keep our industry updated with education and stay connected during this rapidly changing environment. I would like to introduce Kate Edwards with Kate Edwards & Company, Janet Hoffman with HR Aligned Design, and Beatrice Stein with Beatrice Stein Consulting, who will be discussing how to apply your hospitality skills for non-hospitality jobs in just a few moments. A few housekeeping notes before the presentation begins. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There will be time for questions and answers at the end of the session. This webinar, as well as others in our series, will be made available on our website in the coming week. Now, without further delay, let me turn the program over to Janet, who will kick off the webinar. Janet?
Thanks, Patricia. Could you move me to the next slide, please? Okay. Well, on behalf of Bea, Kate, and myself, we really want to welcome everyone here this afternoon or this morning, if those of you are in the Midwest or on the West Coast. And first, we really send all of our wishes to everyone, hoping that you're all safe and healthy. And we'd like to take a short moment before we begin to tell you a little bit more about ourselves. So I'll jump right in. So my name's Janet Hoffman. My company is HR Aligned Design, and I'm a consultant in HR strategy, leadership, and team development, as well as a coach, a speaker, and facilitator. And with 35 years plus of experience in both operations and HR, I hope that enables me to gain a strong understanding of my clients, what they're looking for, and help them to design some practical solutions that help them connect their people practices with business results. So, Bea, how about you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Beatrice Stein and Beatrice Stein Consulting. I specialize in service and training for the hospitality industry, specifically front of the house and management. And I also have a non-for-profit called the Hospitality Project, where I train disenfranchised populations for front of the house positions, and then I help place them in restaurants. And hopefully that will come back very soon. Kate?
Thank you. My name's Kate Edwards. My company is Kate Edwards & Company. I've worked in hospitality for 30 years, pretty much every front of house job with a few cooking gigs thrown in the middle. I've been a consultant now since 2007, and in that role, I do consulting, coaching, educating as well, and I'm also an author. I wrote a book called Hello and Every Little Thing That Matters about the customer experience. And what I do is I help my clients improve their businesses, improve their customer experience, and help their managers grow. So I do that through training, individual coaching, and through advisement and assessments.
Great. So we'll go ahead and get started and jump right in. Can we have the next slide, please? So today our webinar, as you all know, is about applying your hospitality skills to non-hospitality jobs. And we'd like to really focus on 4 main areas today. One is about changing your mindset, how you reframe past positions and skills for non-hospitality positions. We're going to talk a little bit about reviewing and updating your resume. And lastly, most importantly, next steps, where to look, how to apply, how to sell yourself and your applicable skills in a new environment. So we first want to talk about changing your mindset. So where are we today? The picture does not look especially good. I think we can all admit it's no surprise. Restaurants have closed. We don't know when they're going to reopen, how fast they're going to reopen, or even what that's going to look like. So our reality in this industry is our world has changed, our industry has changed, and it may never fully go back to exactly the way it was before. So in a sense, we are all experiencing some sort of a grieving process, not just for our jobs, but for a life that we once, the way it was once. And it's important for us to allow ourselves to absolutely go ahead and do that. You know, unemployment and the stimulus checks we all know about will help. However, the reality is they're a buffer to help us get through this time. But they are going to provide us a time to make a plan for a future. and it is time to pivot and to change our mindset. So we need to think differently about how to make money in the short term and the long term. And we need to be thoughtful about the many skills that each of us have and how they might apply to different jobs, different industries. So in a time when many of us feel like everything's out of control, this is something each of us can control, a plan for our future. B?
Great, thank you. So open yourself up to new possibilities. This is a great time to sort of assess your skills. And if you want to transfer to a new industry, this is the time to do it. The thing is, are you ready? Are you interested? Are you willing to get a certification to pivot into a new field or a new career? If you wish to make a career change, this is a great time to focus on that pivot. Ask yourself, if you're not working in hospitality, what other industry would interest you? Look at online certifications, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, that you can do from home. Entry-level positions in an industry that interests you is a great time now to kind of start that. It's an investment in time and maybe income, but for the short term, but eventually it could pay off in a more secure career path, right? Working from home is the new gig economy. Every business is now realizing that jobs can easily be done from home than they never thought could be done from home before. And if you have a computer and a phone, there are a lot of options out there right now. And I think that we believe that they will continue. Where you end up later really depends on what you do now and how you move forward. Kate?
Thank you. So how do you change your mindset? Right now, we're in between two different periods where the old is still fresh and yet the new hasn't quite happened yet. So this period of transition is very difficult for us to both comprehend and move through. So changing, whether it's changing your mindset or changing your life, this is an active state. So it's important to be proactive. So while this current situation happened to us or potentially happened for us, and it has changed our lives, the one thing we can change is our reaction to it. This is a choice. And by making changes, we are actually basically setting ourselves up to make positive choices for ourselves. So when we think about it, in terms of how our brain deals with change, it's really, there are two things that are happening. One is our brain is struggling between all these built up memories, all these things that we used to do, we used to understand, we used to have habits, we used to have likes and even dislikes that right now seem so wonderful. We knew how things worked. And then our brain is struggling with attention on making a change, doing something new, doing something different, being in this new world. So our brain gets really fatigued very quickly, which is what makes change so difficult. So it feels scary, it feels hard. And now you're in the habit, whether you're aware of it or not, of building new thoughts, of building new habits. And in terms of actually making a change that sticks, it's about changing these habits every single day. Now, you can change your thoughts. So if you're thinking to yourself, you know, this is the worst, I'll never get a new position. Or, you know, I love my old job and I don't want a new job. Think about reframing that thought. So if you think this is the worst, think to yourself for a second, I've never done this before, but I'm a smart person and I can figure this out. Or I loved my last job and I can and will adapt to something new just as easily. So we actually have that control. So remember, you're a hospitality pro. And I know this from coaching both front of house and back of house experts in the field, whether it's, you know, a server, a manager, a chef, that we all have hospitality at our core. And this means we have empathy. Empathy runs through our blood. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is take this empathy and put it towards yourself. Show some compassion to yourself. Janet mentioned grieving. So show yourself some compassion, because if you can't show the compassion, it's going to be harder to change. So in terms of making change, first show compassion, then you want to change your thoughts and think about how you can adjust your thinking in small but powerful ways, and then you're going to make some actions. And this is how you change your mindset. Janet.
Thank you. Can we have the next slide, please? So let's jump right in, okay? And let's spend some time talking about the skills that our front of the house and back of the house team managers have, managers and chefs have, the specific tasks we are used to performing successfully with those skills, and then we're going to look at what are the positions or industries that they might transfer to, all right? So when we talk about individuals that work in hospitality, we say or sometimes hear things like, you have to have strong people skills. You have to want to be of service to be successful in the hospitality industry. I think we've all said that or heard that before. And that statement is entirely true. But what is also true is working in hospitality requires more than just strong people skills or wanting to be of service. What is also true is hospitality team members have a variety of skills that are transferable, including those people skills, and will make them successful in a variety of roles and careers. Can we have the next slide, please? So let's take a look at our front of the house team members first. And let's just think about for a minute, what do many of those team members do? We think about our hosts. They have a great deal of interaction with our guests. They need strong communication and relationship developing skills. Our servers and bartenders need the same. They also need a lot of time management and organization skills to manage their station or the bar. They ensure orders are taken and delivered on time. And they also need to be effective salespeople to bring in more revenue, not just for themselves, but for the restaurants. We rely on those upselling skills. And we all know they also need problem-solving skills to ensure their guests always leave happy. Server assistants or bussers need similar organization skills to ensure side stations are stocked. They need strong detail orientation to ensure the cleanliness of tables in the overall restaurant. And when you look at this chart that's now up in front, you can see this list of skills that they use on a regular basis: communication, problem solving, time management, organization, sales, attention to detail, building relationships. And many of our team members, both front and back of the house, speak multiple languages, all right? So all of these skills, in addition to those people development skills or people relationship skills, are skills that our front of the house team members use on a regular basis. And if you move over to that middle column, think about all the tasks that they use those skills successfully in. They're greeting people, answering a number of questions, the sales skills, they're resolving guest issues, they're taking orders, organizing supplies, translating in many cases. These skills and these tasks show up and are transferable to a number of other positions and industries. So if you take a look at that last column, all of those skills or tasks show up in either customer service positions, call centers, distribution centers, sales representatives, the healthcare industry, e-commerce. We're all ordering everything online now, and translators. So you can see a progression from skills that we're all using to tasks that we regularly complete, and how both transfer to other positions and other industries in multiple ways. Can I have the next slide, please? So there are some similar opportunities with our back of the house team members. If we think for a minute, what do our cooks do on a regular daily basis? They need strong planning and organizational skills to prep, to set their station for the shift. They use a lot of collaboration and communication skills to make sure that they work together with other people on the line, to make sure that they prepare orders in a timely manner, that they're prepared correctly. They really need all of those to work effectively together. Dishwashers also need strong management and time management and organization skills. They need a strong attention to detail. They're critically responsible for making sure not only is there a ongoing supply of clean plates, utensils, and equipment, but also making sure that they're thoroughly clean, and that's where the detail orientation comes in. So they utilize some of the similar skills such as communication, planning, time management, organization, attention to detail that our front of the house team members have. They're just applied in many ways to different tasks. So some of those tasks for our back of the house team members might include inventory, ordering, stocking, collaboration, as I mentioned, maintenance, organizing supplies, again, translation. And they're transferable to other industries and roles as well. Some of the other roles and industries might be our food or product vendors, distribution centers, online order fulfillment, a logistics coordinator. How do you get the order from the warehouse to the person? Delivery people, construction, translator. So again, skills and tasks that are being used on a daily basis make people skilled and potentially successful in other positions and other industries. Can we have the next slide? Similarly, our managers and our chefs have a broad array of skills that they use to be successful. If you think about it, our managers and chefs are really facility and property managers that just happen to be in restaurants. They're coaches, relationship developers, problem solvers, business professionals, financial managers, and much, much more. You can see all the skills that are listed for them that they use on a daily basis. One of the things I often try to point out to people when I'm doing development is that great hospitality leaders are business leaders first. We just happen to have an expertise in the hospitality industry. So we just need to get an expertise in another industry with the skills we already have. And there are other industries where these same tasks and skills are needed and performed today. So some of the industries or positions, you might use your coaching and development skills to become a trainer. You might use your knowledge of food or even technology to be an account representative. You could be a buyer. A facilities or store manager someplace else other than a restaurant is very similar. Accounting or financial services, customer experiences. So remember that all of these skills are characteristics of business leaders, and good managers and leaders can definitely translate their skills to just about any other industry. Kate, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, please, and we can forward the slide. So the next piece then is thinking about how you're going to sell yourself. And this is both for the attendees who might be changing their careers or looking to update their resume. This is also for those of you who are operators, and you might have a large team of people that you're assisting right now, that you're helping them to get new jobs. So there's a few ways to look at this. Let's think back now. How did we get in the industry in the first place? There will be some of you who are thinking to yourself, well, I went to culinary school or I went to hospitality school. It was an active choice to get into this industry. Then there are the folks who sort of fell into it, and I'm one of them. It was one of those things back in the day where I needed a job. It seemed sort of fun. So that's how I got into it. And little by little, over the years, I built up an expertise. I built up skills and I built up comfort in this industry that when I was a kid, I would have never imagined that I would go into hospitality, and yet here I am. So it's going to be the same thing with your new job. You know, what are you maybe good at, or what are you thinking that might be a good fit for you? What might be fun could be a way of thinking about how you want to position yourself and how you want to sell yourself to another industry. So there's a couple things you might want to think about. You know, are you a front of house person? You have learned how to memorize food items. You can sell, you can be very persuasive, you can be very charming. Think about how you can stand out, and then how you can use your resume to share that information with essentially strangers. And again, hospitality, we're constantly dealing with strangers, so this is another skill that we have. This is something that you can utilize in this period of exploring new things. So there's a few ways you can sell yourself. One is your resume, of course, and any sort of email letter that might go with that. You might have a LinkedIn profile, and this is something that you want to focus on at the same time. Even your social media. Now, for those of you who are in the position of hiring others, you know we look on the web and we look at social media. So for those people who are seeking jobs, you must consider this as a representation of who you are. So this is a time to get that into a new alignment. Now, when you are starting to redo some of these things, you've got to think that how you're going to sell yourself is mainly going to be actually remotely. Back in the day, you would show up to a business and introduce yourself. That's not going to happen right now. So it's really going to be dependent either on that email with your resume, or simply going through a portal where you're filling in the fields on a website. So you want to be thoughtful before you do that of how you want to go about telling your story. Now remember, the resume is your professional story. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But so is your LinkedIn page. How do you want to represent your professional story, your professional timeline? What skills do you want to call out? What are some of the skills even that you've never had a chance to use, but you know you've got? This is the time to really highlight those. This is actually a place that actually could be quite exciting or fun or challenging as you think about what's next. It's really about selling a new you, an updated you. So this is your chance, and you can try things out now that you actually have options that you might not have had before. Let's look at the next slide. So your resume. Now, if we look at the one that I've chosen here, this is actually super modern. Don't worry about the way it looks. Traditional resumes are fine. Some industries don't even want or need a photograph. You don't have to worry about that. But if you have a resume nearby on your laptop, feel free to bring it up. If you don't, we'll go through all the different points anyway. But a couple notes about it. It is a living document. So this is something that no matter what, you should be pulling out from time to time, dusting off, looking at. And also know that you might have a couple of different resumes depending on the industries that you're going into. So you might have a restaurant resume or a hospitality resume. You might have one now for healthcare. You might have one for big box stores. So it's okay to have a couple different versions. It's not one size fits all when seeking a job. So just know that you may have a few. Just make sure you clearly mark them for yourself so you can send them out to the appropriate employer when the time is right. Now, in terms of the resume, there's a few sections. So we've got at the top our name and contact information. There's an objective or a summary. There's your experience, your education, and then your skills. And I work with people quite frequently. I'm an educator at a culinary school here, and we get a lot of career changers. So what's important with folks like that, which you might be now, is making sure that all the relevant experience that you have is closer to the top of the email. Human beings like to scan through stuff. They're going to look from the top to the bottom. So whatever you have at the top is going to likely hit their radar more than the things that are lower on the resume. So if you have any sort of relevant skills, you want to put those further up. So for instance, if you've been working in hospitality, but when you were younger, you actually did some retail jobs, and now you might want to apply now to some grocery stores, you're going to put your retail jobs in a section and move that section further up. So you might have your retail experience followed by your hospitality experience. This is a way to show people, even though it's not in order, in chronological order, this is a way to show people that you have done this job before. And any experience is experience. So I've definitely had people say, oh, but I worked at XYZ place when I was in college. Doesn't matter. You did it. You had the job. You did the tasks associated with the job. That's the most important thing. So think about the organization. You can use that to your advantage. Now, your name and contact information, they're not going to change, but your objective will. And then many people have a summary of their skills. And in this case, I'm going to recommend that you choose to have an objective, because an objective is your goal. Okay, so if your goal is to apply to another industry, this is the place to tell that person, that stranger who's only looking at this piece of paper, what your intentions are. So for instance, and you want to, in this objective, say to secure, to gain, this is what your objective will be. So here's a couple. To secure a position in the healthcare field that utilizes my customer experience and conflict resolution skills. Okay, so those are the skills that you maybe gained in hospitality, but you're aiming to use them in this new field. Let's say you want to secure a position in a warehouse. Let's say to secure a position in a warehouse that utilizes my attention to detail, physical stamina, and organization skills built during my years as a cook. You can refer to that. That's okay. But this is a way to, again, highlight your goal and put it alongside your skills. The best way to do it is using that objective. Now, when you're describing your experience, you want to make sure that it speaks to other industries and not just hospitality. So you want to be descriptive of where you worked and where those jobs were and what they actually did. Because again, in hospitality, it's a small world. And we know when you reference a certain restaurant, we get it. But in other industries, they might not. So we want to be a little more descriptive. You're also going to want to use some numbers. Now, numbers can be very, very compelling for people because it shows the scope and the scale of your job. So for instance, don't just say you worked at XYZ restaurant, say you worked at a 3-star, 150-seat fine dining restaurant. Wow, okay, now I have a picture of what you did or where you worked. If you were a server or a bartender, you could say you were fluent in a 200-bottle wine list. Or if you were a server, assistant, busser, or runner, you were responsible for a 20-seat section. Or if you're a cook, you prepared 95 plates a night. Okay, so using those numbers can be very helpful. Stay away from restaurant lingo. So instead of saying covers, use guests. Instead of saying mise en place, say you prepped items. Instead of I was in charge of open table, say you mastered the reservation system. And now at the same time, you're going to want to make those changes on your LinkedIn profile because again, LinkedIn is a really great sales tool. And it's something that people, when they're seeking new employees, they might even scan on there as well. And this is a great way for you to approach employers is by utilizing LinkedIn. So the same thing, use the about section to describe your goal for your new position and how your skills can help you potentially get into this new industry. Invite former managers to write endorsements or references for you. This can be very compelling for new employers, and it also shows that you're up to date. Make sure all your other social media represents your new focus. So if you're a cook and you usually post photos of your cooking, don't stop. But start to think about what other skills can you highlight. So do you want to highlight your perfect mise en place or your beautiful plates and maybe even your clean workspace? Again, you're telling a professional story. So think about how you can tell that story with the photos and with the ideas of social media and even your resume. And if you have any questions as we're going, throw them in the question section. We're going to have some Q&A towards the end. Could I have the next slide, please? So there's something called, forgive me, there's something called action verbs. And action verbs are really important to start to think about when you're crafting or updating your resume or your LinkedIn page. So they are a way to be specific about your work, your duties, and those very important skills that Janet referred to earlier. So on this page that you're looking at, the colors don't mean anything, but these are 9 different transferable skills and different verbs that you can start to think about. So again, you want to highlight what we call transferable skills, skills that you developed in hospitality that are going to apply to a new industry. So you want to think about the verbs that describe what you did in your last position, because this will show that they are universal, okay? So if you're a server, you could say on your resume, you took orders, you brought food and drink to the tables, and you handled problems. But we can already assume that that's what you did. That's not going to give enough color. So what are the skills you want to highlight? Did you customize dining experiences for regular guests using customized as the action verb? Or did you surpass sales goals for nightly wine sales using surpass? Or did you coordinate and ensure that your 15-person team was set up for service as a shift supervisor? So think about how you can use some of these verbs to show the skills that you utilized. Now, the same thing in the back of the house. We know as a cook, you prepared food to standard and upheld sanitation protocols. But think about, did you create unique specials on each shift that utilized low-cost ingredients for the restaurant? Or did you complete nightly inventory for your station and utilize standard inventory procedures? I'm highlighting the verbs that you're using because it shows the ways that you think about your skills, and it makes it very active. These are the things I did. These are the things I want to call out to you as the potential employer. So action verbs are incredibly important for highlighting you, your skills, and what you're able to do. And again, it's about being active. So back to your thinking and your thoughts. You want to demonstrate that you're actively seeking something new, whether it's for the short term or for the long term. And these action verbs and the verbiage you use in your email and in your resume and in your email communications, that can really set you apart from people who are sort of like, I need a job, and you say, no, I want a job here. And that's the thing to remember. You want to speak to your potential employee as if you want to be in that place more than any other, okay? So it's about using those skills of persuasion and then using these verbs to put it all together. Over to you, Bea.
Thank you, Kate. Next slide, please. So there are jobs out there. So let's look at current, now, short term, and then long term. Can we flip to the next slide, please? So there are industries hiring, and in the short term, there's a lot of jobs out there right now. So Indeed is a job aggregator. It's a really great place to start with. It pulls jobs from multiple sites, so it's really easy to find jobs and create daily alerts. Grocery stores, delivery, big box stores like Walmart, Target, and Amazon are all hiring. If you have a driver's license, great opportunity for jobs. UPS is hiring. It's a great career choice. I know lots of people who've had great retirement after working for years with UPS. Amazon and Instacart are all hiring. If you have a car, not just a driver's license, but you also have a car, there's a lot of opportunity if you have a car because they want people who can drive and drop off the deliveries and things like that. Also be aware there's different levels of licenses, and the higher the level, like truckers, make more money. They're driving the big rigs. They're carrying the goods from state to state. So that if you want to take your driver's license and take it up a couple levels to trucker, then you can make more money doing that. Also remember, for anything with driving, you must have a really fairly clean driving record. So be very aware of that. Tech savvy. If you're tech savvy, Apple is now hiring. There are lots of Apple jobs. Just go to their website and look at careers. Verizon, if you call center, your skills that you have that are hospitality skills in dealing with sales or problem solving, any of that is great for call centers. For call centers to work from home, all you need is a computer and a phone. You need both of those to work from home, and they set you up to work those jobs. Remote communication like Zoom, Slack, and Microsoft Teams, they're being utilized every day by so many people. Their business is blown up. If you go to their websites and look at their career pages, you'll see lots of jobs there and all over the country, and also being able to work remotely again. For managers, all industries are really looking for leaders, especially if you've done multiple units. The skills you have at managing multiple positions are extremely valuable. That scheduling, problem solving, knowing different positions and what they're doing simultaneously, being able to move from one to the other. Those are all great skills in any kind of management position. Your management skills of working in restaurants are easily translatable. And I'd also like to mention in these short-term, in any of these things that we're giving out, that please, managers, if you're on this call and you want to share these ideas with your staff members, please share it with them, because they're looking for positions. Everyone in every level is looking for positions. So please share with people you know, share with your staff members if you're managers or owners on the call. Can we flip to the next page, please? So considering change, right? This is an opportunity now to really look long-term. Those were short-term possibilities that we just talked about, the people that are hiring immediately right now. But what if you want to embark on a new career path? Are you ready to make that pivot? You know, let's look at the steps that you can take, where to look, how to apply, selling your applicable skills. So we found there's so many opportunities as your hospitality skills translate to just about any industry. So Kate and Jane and Janet have given you really great places to start in how to look at your resume, look at your skills, identifying those action verbs, all of that. So the next question is identifying industries of interest. Have you asked yourself, what industries would I like to move into if I wasn't working in a restaurant, right? For managers, there's a great career site. It's called careersonestop.org. They have a skills matcher assessment, and that gives you a guide you fill out the assessment, and it guides you to industries and jobs within that industries based on how you answered the questions. So that's a great place to start if you're not sure or you have multiple interests. This way, it'll guide you into what you've answered those questions about your skills and your abilities, and what industries and what jobs are a good match. And again, you can also share this with your staff members who might be looking for career changes, right? Every city has workforce development organizations. Every city, every state. They help with job matching, they help with career matching, and even some training grants are available. In New York here, we have Workforce One, and they do have some training grants available, so you can apply for different grants for different career changes. In California, because I know we have people from all over the country joining us, so Cal Career Center in California and Career Source and Employ Florida in Florida are also some options. But just check in whatever city or state you're in, workforce development, and you'll find everyone has it, and they're trying as hard as they can in every state to help match and help with resumes, career matching, job matching. So let's talk about some options here. So if you're good with numbers, you can get a CPA license online. There's lots of CPA courses, and the IRS is obviously hiring. With everything going on with the stimulus, the IRS is bombarded, so I'm sure there's lots of CPA jobs. You have to be a CPA to work for the IRS and any other kind of industry that is with accounting. If you're tech savvy, Apple is hiring, so there's lots of Apple jobs available, whether online and eventually maybe in the stores. Construction is an industry that is currently not touched. They may be on hold, but they're soon going to go back to work, and they all have deadlines they need to meet, so they're going to need workers. To work in construction, you need site safety cards and an OSHA 30. In New York, there's a course on New York Safety and Training offers online to get that. And there'll be lots of jobs there. The thing about construction, which is great, is if you're back of the house worker, somebody who's really hands-on, if you start with a construction job, if you just get a basic job and you start with like hauling trash or whatever like that, you see all the different trades and how they're working. And if you're interested in one of those trades, if you're interested in plumbing or electrical or HVAC or whatever it is, then you can ask to be a helper in that trade. And then they can help you get your certification if that's really the trade that you want to do. So it has options, just like when you started in the back of the house, perhaps you started as a dishwasher, right? And then you got to do prep, and then you got to do line and whatever, break down fish, whatever it is. The opportunities like that in construction are definitely there. Security guard, there are two levels. Lots of people are looking for security guards. There are two levels. One is the basic, it's a 3-day course, you can do it online, or the more advanced, which means that you're required to carry firearms. And there's courses online for that basic 3-day course, at least to get started for security guards. And lots of the big box stores, everybody's looking for security now. So it is one that's short-term and eventually long-term. There's a big correlation between hospitality and healthcare. Anything medical is hiring, and medical billing is a really good place to start. The pay rates for medical billing are higher than minimum wage, and you do not need a medical degree, but you do need to complete a course, and they have lots of courses across the country for medical billing. There's also medical interpreter. This is if you're fluent in multiple languages. You take a course and you can interpret for the person, hospitalized or in the doctor's office. If they're not understanding, you translate for them in whatever language that you speak. And so it helps the doctor, it helps the healthcare, and it helps the patient. Those are all online classes that you can do. You do need a computer to do them. One thing I want to mention with medical positions, you must be able to pass a background check for anything medical, even for billing or interpreter. You have to be able to pass a background check. Court reporter, if you have really good listening skills, writing skills, and attention to detail, lots of court reporter opportunities once the courts come back. And balancedcareers.com has some information about that on their website. If you want to learn to code, Number one, it's good for web design, but also it's really good on resumes. Lots of employers see that you know how to code and that you become very useful to them in many ways. So learning to code is a great thing to do online. Themuse.com has 10 free classes to learn how to code. So that's a great place to start with that. If you notice, I'm mentioning a lot of places online. If you look, there's an attachment here, and you can see the attachment, and it lists a lot of the places I'm talking about online, so it's an easy reference for you. If you're fluent in multiple languages, you can read and write in multiple languages. There's lots of translating jobs available. If you're good with sales, soon visitor bureaus will come back. They'll want to reopen. They'll be promoting their cities, their states. If you're good in sales, these are great places to start for jobs trying to bring people back, to tourism back to your city and to your state. If you like to travel, online travel agencies are going to be bombarded once that travel opens back up, and they're going to need lots of customer service online people to help. So those are great opportunities in travel. Senior living is really changing right now. Baby boomers are moving into retirement, and senior living is really ramped up its game. It's more hotel-like with concierge and amenities. It's really become quite different than what we think of kind of, it's the end of life to go into senior living. So there's lots of opportunities for hospitality, because it is more hotel-like. And they're looking for more hospitality skills in taking care of these seniors that are coming into retirement, who have been traveled and educated and really living a different type of lifestyle, right? So there's lots of opportunities there. If you like real estate, managing property rentals is a great opportunity for you in a transitional kind of place to go. And then Balanced Careers has a list of certificate programs that lead to really high-paying jobs. So you can look on their website there. And I would also suggest visiting websites of companies that you would like to work at and view their career page and see what kind of jobs they have on their career page. Every, large company groups have a career page that tells you what they're looking for and where. And that's a great place to start, especially if you really like a company, like if you really want to work for Google or Apple or whatever it may be. So those are all long-term. A lot of them require you really making that pivot or shift and looking at, taking courses and moving into a new realm of your life, whatever it may be. Can we go to the next slide, please? Fantastic. So now we can talk a little bit just about investing in you, right? What do you want to do right now? If you want to stay in the industry and you just want to increase your knowledge and your skills, there's lots of opportunities. American Hotel and Lodging Foundation has free online management courses that you can take, and the link is on that page. Cornell University has a 10-day online GM program. So if you really want to move into management and get out of the hourly positions and move into management, or you're an entry-level manager and you really want to up your skills, this is a great opportunity with Cornell. All over the internet, there are lots of wine, beverage, cooking classes being offered for free. At culinaryagents.com, they have a huge resource page. There's tons and tons, just pages and pages of courses that you can take online for free that increase your learning about wine, beverages, cooking, just all kinds of things. It's a great place to look for some classes if you want to increase your knowledge. And then I would just Google hospitality certifications. It'll come up for wherever city and state you're in, and there's lots of things being offered, and a lot of people are changing them to online right now to free. So it's a great opportunity to improve your skills. So that is what I have. I've gone through a lot of stuff here, and like I said, the handout that's included here has a lot of that information. So if you're looking for some of the things I mentioned, please go to that handout and you'll see the links there that'll help you find them. So that is our presentation for today. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, these are our websites and then how to get in touch with all of us.
Great, thank you so much. That was such wonderful information. We do have some questions, but before we get to the questions, I just wanted to flip for a second to this page. Just remind everyone who's attended this webinar that we have been, continuously updating our industry resource page at foodandbevshows.com. So you can check here for upcoming webinars, for webinars that have passed. They're all being posted here. And I also want to let everyone know that this presentation will be sent to all of you via email and will also be added here on the foodandbevshows.com in case you need to refer back. I'm just going to turn back here to our stay in touch page. And if you ladies are ready, we have some questions from the audience. Let's see here. Our first question here, with 20 plus years in fine dining, I'm not sure where to go next. I also have 15 years experience in grassroots organizing and nonprofits and national advocacy for our industry. I would like to start a nonprofit here in California, but being that I'm brand new to California, I have no idea where to start. I'm completely overwhelmed.
Wow. I think for nonprofit, there are a couple of websites, and I'd have to look them up, but there's a couple of really good websites for non-for-profit. That is there are job searches for jobs in non-for-profit. I don't know it off the top of my head, but you can reach out to me and I can find that for you, and it's all over the country. So that's a place where you might be able to start if you're looking into staying into the non-for-profit realm.
And I would also advise, and I feel for you because you've got all this wealth of experience, but now you're in a new market, so that's challenging. So I would advise maybe going to Facebook and looking up to see what hospitality groups are alive and well in the area where you are, so you can start to sort of meet new people and also be part of the conversation there. But also fine dining is, as you know, it's all about sales. It's all about attention to detail, relationship building. There are a ton of different sort of industries that you could parlay those skills into if you're ready for a change. And I think, like Beatrice was sharing about senior living, those sort of aspects of healthcare could be very helpful. And again, if you have any sort of not-for-profit skills, the not-for-profit sector is blowing up right now. I mean, I know in New York City, every restaurant has just started some sort of not-for-profit. Not every, but many have started not-for-profits in order to build some sort of stability for their teams. So I'd imagine any sort of not-for-profit expertise you have could be another area that you could focus on. And you already have skills. So that I think that could be very helpful.
And I'll just piggyback on what both Bea and Kate said. I think the number of not-for-profits in the restaurant industry that have just sprung up as a natural way to try and help some of their teams, I think those are some great opportunities to volunteer in both of your fields, for instance, and also that's going to help you network and make some great connections as well.
Great, thank you so much, ladies. Our next question, LinkedIn is great to build your presence. Do you have any recommendations on the best ways to network on LinkedIn and find positions that might be appropriate to my skills?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. You can do one of two things. One is you can start to grow your network. And the easiest way to do it is to link in with somebody new, and then you can go and look at all of their people. So you want to be strategic about who you're linking in with. So it could be somebody who does what you do. So maybe link in with people who are other servers at other relevant restaurants, or other bartenders or cooks or managers. You could also go one level up and you could look at the HR managers, the general managers, directors of operation, or owners, and start to connect there. And what that will show you is who are those people connected with. So you can actively build your network that way. Another thing that LinkedIn always recommends is sending a note with your request to link in, and that can be very compelling. So it allows people to know, A, that you might be interested in working with them or setting up some sort of informational interview, and B, what are the skills that you could build. So if you're now going into a new sector, if you're going to focus on tech, you're going to want to start to look at people who are actively working in that industry, and then start, again, asking for informational interviews or chatting about your skills, and asking to link in with them. Any other things to add, ladies?
I want to add groups. There's a lot of groups on LinkedIn. If you join groups in areas that interest you, that's a great way to meet people with like-minded, shared interests, and you never know where that also leads. So I think the LinkedIn groups are also good, in addition to everything that Kate had mentioned.
Yeah, and I'd add a couple of other things. In your profile settings, make sure you can go in, and I forget exactly what it's called, but you want to make sure that the box is checked that says you're open to new opportunities, because as people are looking around and they're doing Google searches within LinkedIn, it will bring up people that have said that they're open to new opportunities. So you want to make sure you want to make it easy for people to find you. The other thing that I would just point out, because I think sometimes it's not everybody is aware of it, is if you are looking in the job section on LinkedIn and you see a few that are interesting, click on those, because usually somewhere on that page, it will show you if you are connected, if you have either a first or a second, maybe even a third, I think maybe just first and second connection to somebody that works at that company. And don't be shy about reaching out, because I think particularly in this day and age, people would be happy to help out in terms of just connecting you with the person that's posted the job, if indeed they have a connection there, or happy to make an introduction.
But again, go back to your page and update that, the sort of overall summary of who you are, the about section, so that when those new people go to your page, they're not going to see something outdated. They're going to see something that's up to date, and they're going to see your intention there. So state that your intention is to move into XYZ industry and apply these relevant skills.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. That's a lot of great tips there. Our next question here is, are you getting indications from companies on what the hospitality industry will look like on the other side of COVID-19? Does it make sense to find a short-term job for perhaps a few weeks, or do you think this will be months?
Well, yeah. We're already
Wow.
I'll just jump right in a little bit. I'm sure we all have something to say on this. I think I do think it is a big unknown, and it will go in stages, in the sense of how quickly it will come back and what it will look like. I think that until there is a vaccine, this is my personal opinion, that large gatherings or the social distancing will still be in place, which that does make it a little difficult for a lot of different restaurants. So I think we're going to have to, particularly at the beginning, once we kind of get back or get the okay to go back, we're going to have to really think differently about how our restaurants are set up. And I think that in itself will slow the pace of how quickly the industry comes back. So I don't want to be doom and gloom, or I'm just trying to be realistic about what it could or might look like. So I think that looking for some of these, even if it's just short term, kind of this is like your plan B if it doesn't come back as quickly as you would like. I think that's probably a good thing to think about.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Yeah, and I also think that we don't know. So we can't get too attached right now. I think the idea is to really sort of stay fluid, stay open, and I'd say now's the time to try something out, because you want to be a little bit ahead of the curve. If this is 5 or 6 months as opposed to 5 or 6 weeks for you to start in a job and potentially start to move up quickly, you want to be ahead of the curve there, which I think would be very helpful. Now, on the flip side, if you have just been let go of a job that maybe you love and you really are committed to the operator, that might be something that you have a conversation with. Listen, I'm going to take this job in the short term, but when you are ready to open, please call on me. I want to be one of the first people you you reach out to. And, you know, people may go back to slimmer teams. So if it will be on you, I think, in some ways to actively maintain the relationship with your former job so that they keep you front of mind. So check in regularly, share your interest if you do want to go back, so that they understand where you're at and that you are part of their team, even if it's even while you're working someplace else.
I also want to mention that I spoke to some people at Workforce One here in New York, and they were talking about that the people were turning down jobs and not taking jobs because they were making more with unemployment. Remember that unemployment doesn't last forever. And if you use it all up and then something happens again in a few months, there is, again, we'd have to wait for another stimulus or whatever. So if you're thinking long-term and long-term goals, don't think that unemployment is just going to sustain you until everything comes back to normal. You know, utilize this time. Like we said, there's opportunities to really look forward in something that you've always wanted to do. It's an opportunity to invest that time now into learning those skills, networking with people on LinkedIn and through social media and whatnot, and being able to pivot that way. Maybe it'll be a part-time thing or a temporary thing, and maybe it's going to end up being a new career path that works out because, you know, because you took the leap into that, right?
Thank you. Again, that's all really great advice. That actually wraps up our questions, but we did have a lot of comments coming in, a lot of thank yous for all of the great information. So I wanted to share that with you, and also some requests on whether or not they can have your email addresses. I know that your company websites are up on the screen right now, but if it's okay with you ladies, we can share that in the thank you email that everybody gets along with the copy of the presentation.
Yes. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Please share it.
Okay, great. So we will make sure that everyone gets that. And I just want to thank you all again for being here with us today and sharing your expertise. I know that I certainly learned a lot, and I will be taking this and sharing it with all of my friends as well. So, but have a great weekend. And until next time, I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.